Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I'm so excited to have on a 43-year-old from Warren, Michigan, USA, a staple with the Little Caesars program and laced up in the Shed's old honey hole of the CCHA with Miami of Ohio, where he was a Terry Flanagan Memorial Award winner. He even mucked around with the Daytona Beach Bombers of Ohio and had a 35-point season in the A with the Worcester Ice Cats. He is a legend in roller and is widely known as a pioneer of the sport, but he is best known as the mayor of Estero, Florida with the Everblades, where number 9 is retired because he ran amok for years and seems he's come out of retirement at least 5 times to help the franchise that he's captained and is now captaining relief efforts in the area. Welcome to the Shed, Ernie Hartlieb.
I love it. What an intro. What an intro.
Well, I don't know. I get into how we know each other off the hop, and I don't even know if you know who I am.
I got a text message and they're like, "Hey, you want to get on the a podcast?" And I said, "I love doing podcasts, absolutely." So I was,
yeah, because so I played for the Daytona. So how we know each other is I played a ton of roller. I'm a Narch champion, and you were a few years older than me. So I'd see you walking around the rink. You always know who the guys are that are older than you.
Yeah. So that's that roller daddies.
So anyways, that, and then I was on the Daytona Beach Bombers when we played you guys in semifinals and beat you in Game 7.
Oh wow, that's a while ago, eh?
Yeah, a little bit.
That was a while ago. What was that? What year was that? Was that 06?
That was my rookie year. That was my only year in North America. So that was 06, 07.
Yeah, 06, 07.
Yeah.
It was Yannick Tifu was on that team, wasn't he?
That's correct. And Vince Bellissimo was on your team. Both Shed guys. Both have been on here.
Oh, they have. Nice. Beauty. I'm glad I can join the crew here.
Yes, you are a Shed guy. And I watched you play roller a few times, but I was the younger guy. You probably never even knew who I was,
Oh,
and but anyways, I got your number from Nesbitt because he's also a Shed guy. He's been on and he's seen that I've been able to help out a few charities and some people that I've have known and have had some things going on. But he sent me the GoFundMe page. And I saw who created it, and the last name was Hartlieb. And I was like, I know Ernie Hartlieb, the roller guy that played for Florida. And then it was about Craig Kowalski, the goalie I played against at Northern Michigan, Florida Everblades, and then in Nottingham.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what's all? Yeah. So he's in the area, and he's lost everything.
Yeah, it was brutal. So we have a lot of retired guys that we met all of our wives or whatnot when we were playing for the Florida Everblades. So we all ended up staying here. And now we all have kids. And now we have mini Kowalski, mini Hartliebs, mini Ryan Brinleys. We have a lot of mini ex-hockey players around here that we coach. So it's like we've never left the game. It's we don't have to play now, but we still party and have a good time like we are playing. And it's great. So
that's quite the place to live. But you guys have had a hard go here, eh?
Oh, it's been brutal. Yeah, it was one of those storms that we thought everybody in the media said was going to Tampa. We get a lot of storms down here, but it wasn't until probably 10 hours before it hit, they were like, man, this thing's coming right at us. And it didn't give a lot of people a lot of time to get out and evacuate because, everybody's so precautious and this and that, but they made it sound like it was just going to buzz by us and we were going to get a little bit of wind. And it ended up turning right into us, and it really destroyed a lot of people's lives, including Craig Kowalski, which it took everything from him. So it was brutal.
So there is a GoFundMe page, and is that your wife that's put that up?
My wife said I didn't even know that she had set it up for Kowalski family because we've been basically every day, helping him clean out his house. It was 7 feet of water in his house. And it's been, his wife is, we're going through baby pictures and everything's ruined and she's crying. It's been brutal, but it was our minor league, our little hockey team and all the parents and the kids and the families been donating and helping them clean out. And K-Wall's a firefighter. So the firefighter's been over there taking shifts and he found Kwal was a black ace on the Carolina Hurricanes, and he had a Stanley Cup ring. He found his ring; it was floating in the house, and he had pictures of when he had the cup on the ice. And we tried to air everything out on the sidewalk for him, but thankfully,
and that's the thing, right? You can put up a GoFundMe page, but there's things that are irreplaceable, right?
Right. And it's just a tough. I mean, I guess you really don't know unless you put in that situation how brutal it can be when you have everything there and it's just gone. And
if I'm hearing correctly, is insurance not even helping people?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a while. I'm sure they'll, because there's a lot of homes and everything that got destroyed down here. But I'm sure he's going to get insurance on it somehow. But for right now, we've been just donating clothes to him and trying to find. We got his kids. I mean, he's a goalie. Both his boys are goalies, so we got goalie pads and stuff, trying to round it up for the kids to play. And it's just a tough situation, but he's got a lot of good people around him all over. Not in.
Well, it
Florida.
Sounds like you got a good community, and firefighters, they all take care of each other. Hockey guys take care of each other. Your hockey family. So
yeah.
Well, and I got my shed community here, and we've helped a bunch of people. So folks, I got nothing else to raffle off. I've raffled off everything I got of my merch. So you'll have to go to the GoFundMe page. I'll share it. Please help donate and help out a shed guy. Kowalski's played in all the same leagues I have. He's a hockey guy,
Yeah, he's a beauty. He's a beauty. And so that's great that you do that, and I love it that I get to be on another podcast and
it's fun. Isn't it fun to talk about this shit?
I love it. It's just reminiscing. It's like the guy from coming back to high school talking about the good old days and telling stories.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what do I got here? So one of my honey holes that I always bring up is right in your neck of the woods, the Lani Kai.
Oh yeah,
they're still standing though.
It's partially standing. Like everything on Fort Myers Beach was wiped out except Lani Kai's still there, but it's beat up pretty good.
Yeah,
that's where we had all of our rookie parties. That's where all the visiting teams went to have a good time when they came down here and help.
Well, that's where I won Narch, right? I was in my university at Western Michigan. We win Narch, and we're at the Lani Kai. It was full go.
That's the place to be. That's the place to be.
So the rookie parties, did you start Legs and Eggs? It's come up here, and now we have t-shirts that say Legs and Eggs. So did you start the rookie parties that may have had breakfast at the
Lani Kai there?
Well, not the Lani Kai. Isn't there a place where the gals dance or whatever?
The cottage. Well, there's a couple places that we used to I've been there since 2005. So I mean, we pretty much did we started off, we made our rounds, we ended up at the Lani Kai in the cottage. Is it the Lani Kai? They always had the booty shaking contest, but we made the rookies. We made the rookies dress up on Speedos for the whole trip. So it was
what a great spot for rookie parties, eh?
Oh yeah, we timed the rookie parties at spring break. So rookie parties were in March when it was spring break season. So it was great.
Yeah, so we've heard a few stories in the shed. So thanks for doing that as leader of the team. So good job.
Absolutely.
So I guess the question I always ask everybody is, where and what are you doing now?
So I am a wealth advisor now. I've been that since I retired, but still heavily involved in the hockey community down here. I coach the kids. My wife and I own the gym inside of Hertz Arena, which was Germain Arena when you knew it. So we train all the the hockey players. We train the Everblades, the junior teams, FGCU, the college team, and then we train all the younger kids that come up. And so my wife runs
gym in that arena trains all those teams there.
Yeah.
So you're like the conditioning coach of the Everblades.
Yeah. My wife, I let my wife do it. She's in charge of that stuff. So I'm a financial guy, a wealth advisor, but she runs the ship. And the reason we bought it, obviously we had our young kids, but there's a skating treadmill up there, and I used to use the skating treadmill all the time just to get in shape.
Why would you use that?
Hey,
I would hate that shit. Why would you get on a treadmill and just skate?
Well, because I did nothing all summer and I've had to get ready for training camp. So you get ready, go on that thing for 2 weeks, and I'm ready to go.
I feel like I've realized all I needed to do was have someone to compete with. If I had a hard time working out sometimes because I didn't have anyone to compete with. I don't know about the treadmill. I don't know if I could do it. I'm not.
I don't. I had to do it. I had to do it because in the summer times it was too much fun and golf, and you start training, but you're not really in hockey shape. So I figured,
I
get
know.
on the treadmill and go for a rep a couple times a week, three
I
times a
guess
week, and be
it's
ready.
different, right? Yeah, because when I was going to Germany, they just make you run for like a month. So there's, it was
Oh,
awful, awful.
yeah. I was there for one training camp, and that was it in Germany.
Oh, did you go over?
I was in, yeah, I signed in Augsburg in the DEL in '04 during the lockout. And I went over for training camp, and we played in the friendship tournament against two Russian teams. And my first shift in the game, I got a baseball bat two-hander over the top of my hand, broke my thumb and my wrist. After the game, the general manager called me into his office, said, "Thanks for coming," handed me a brown bag full of money, and pushed me out his door and sent me back to North America. And that was my only trip to Europe and Germany playing ice hockey.
Really? Yeah, because a lot of times I list, because a lot of guys I played with were overseas, and I list the countries they played, and you were all in the U.S.
Yeah, they didn't. It doesn't show up because I guess it was only
because it
one
was an
game.
exhibition game, but
It was an
that's
exhibition game,
and
so it didn't
that's
show up.
brutal. They just break your wrist, and there's some money. Just go.
Yeah, they said you're out for 2 months, 3 months. We can't use you. We don't want our import card. So here's a bag of money, and they pushed me out the door, and that was it. So I never went back.
I was actually curious about that year because I figured it was the lockout, but you were running amok. You were on the climb in the AHL at that point, and then the lockout just jams you up, eh?
Yeah, that's what happened. And then I went over there, and then I ended up coming back that year after I broke my thumb and my wrist. And part of the reason of me getting down to the Everblades was I ended up playing golf when my wrist was healed with Craig Brush, and I didn't even know who's the general manager and president of the Everblades. I didn't even know I was playing with him. We get to the golf course at Oakland Hills, and he's sitting there waiting for me, and we played a round of golf. And he said, I want you to play. I'll offer you a two-way contract. You put whatever you want in the contract, email it to me, and then I'll get it approved. And so the next day, that's how I ended up become a Florida Everblade. But in the contract, it said if any team wanted to call me up for the remainder of the season, they can buy my contract for $1. And so I was here for like a couple weeks, and Grand Rapids called, and they bought my contract. So I had to move. I went from Michigan to Florida, and then right back to Michigan to play for the Grand Rapids Griffins that year.
So this guy, this owner, that you put this in the contract that you can get called up for anything. It sounds like he takes care of took care of you. He's a good dude.
Yeah, well, I grew up playing with his son, so I've known him since I was like 6, 7 years old, and so he always tried to, after college, and I was with Worcester and St. Louis. He'd always try to get me to come and sign with the Everblades, but I was playing in the American League at the time, and so after I went over to the DEL and broke my thumb and my wrist, he saw his opportunity, and it just worked out that way.
Well, that's cool. And then you find a home there.
I found a home, I found a wife, and I have my 2 kids, and I made a life for myself. So
yeah, and now you're doing the minor hockey. So what are you coaching? How old are the kids?
So my kids are 2013, 2014 birth years. They both play squirts, and so yeah, so I'm just from mites to squirts. And
I got a 2012 and a 2015, and I literally just came from scheduling. No, I'm the head coach and manager of my under 9 gals team, and I just had to make the schedule for the season. Just did it. Oh,
man, you're a busy guy. That's a lot right there to do the schedule.
I didn't want to be the manager. I didn't want to be the scheduler, but nobody else would. So there you go.
So you took over, and that a boy.
Yeah, someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, that's right. Might as well be you.
Season's scheduled. Here we go. And
yeah,
you know what's fun? Every game just happened to miss my son's tournaments, so I get to be at everything. I don't know how that worked out.
That's your move. That's your move.
Okay, so you were just playing roller with your kids, though, and you played a bunch of roller. I still remember, and this may sound like a creepy stalker, and that's cool with me.
Yeah,
okay,
no.
I remember when I went to that Narch tournament in Estero at the Germain Arena, which I went there for some reason like 4 to 5 times in my life, mainly for roller, once for ice. That series, that was a beauty. But I don't know if you had played for the Everblades yet or not, but you were in the roller for Narch, and like you were like a legend walking around the arena. All the kids knew you, every roller kid knew you. Like were you into roller your whole life?
Yeah, I was into like, well, when I was like 8 or 9, 10 years old, they played roller hockey in the streets, and then Joe Dumars Fieldhouse was
Yeah, I have
created.
that written down.
Oh,
Joe
you do,
Dumars,
yeah.
where are you going there? Because yeah,
Yes, yeah. So somebody called and invited me to play at Joe Dumars Fieldhouse, and so all these kids were like roller hockey players, and I'd been playing ice hockey, so I just jumped out and just started buzzing around, and I was just scoring a million goals, and then next thing you know, I was getting sponsored by Lebeda and all these companies, and then it was when I was like 12 or 13, they had Team USA. The World Juniors for Team USA was in Chicago, and I got selected to play for Team USA with my couple of my buddies, Jason Deskins, who I played was my college roommate, and then it just took off from there. And I don't know, I was just really, I mean, I thought I was good at ice hockey, but then I was really good at roller hockey, and I ended up, playing in the Narch and everything, and I ended up playing on the double IHF team for like 10 years, and was
when did you shut it down then?
well, I played in the Tours Pro Division 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I still keep in contact with the roller hockey
Well, you're a
company.
fitness like trainer and wealth guy. Like I can't play roller anymore.
No more, no more roller. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was different because I remember, I mean, I was playing roller in the Narch Pro and I was like 17, 18 years old. And now at the time I went and played, I was 41, 42. And,
Did you
mentally in
still
your
have
head,
it?
yeah, they still have it
No,
going
do
on.
you
And
still have it?
yeah, I still do have it, but I just don't have the legs like I used to have it. Like I could,
You can
like,
still see the play, but you just
oh yeah, I could still play the game, and I came out of retirement at 40 years old, played for the Everblades, and got a goal, and
I
so
saw
I just
that.
yeah. So I mean, I can still play. It's just it's amazing when I was in my early 20s, and I was playing with guys in their late 30s, and ready to retire. And they're like, I'm like, how you guys are tired? And they're like, oh, one day you'll catch up to you. You'll see. Well, 43 years old now and playing with the kids at 42 and whatever, or not 42. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have my legs. I don't have them anymore, no matter what
Well,
I do.
that's great. You're still doing it, man. I had to stop hockey because of my knee, but like
Yeah.
with my kid and seeing them out there, like it looked like they were having fun and I wanted to go out there, but then I'm like, I just can't risk the injury. But like roller hockey was fun. Like it's a different
Oh yeah.
vibe. It's a different vibe around the arena.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's not the same as ice hockey parents are different than roller parents, you know?
Oh, 100%. The reason I played roller hockey was because I had such a fun time. There was no real pressure, and you go with your buddies. You can do stuff that you couldn't do on the ice.
And
You
there
do
and
creative
like
stuff.
back contact used to start young, like pretty young, but that
Yeah.
I think it still should in ice hockey.
Yeah.
But like when you don't go through puberty or whatever, and I was a little guy, I used to get crushed. So I went to
Yeah.
roller to be able to actually make plays, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. And that's why it was so fun. And I got my kids into it too. Just no pressure. Go out, have fun with your buddies, do some creative stuff, score some goals, and roller hockey is all about the flair. Have a little fun, do a little showboating, and
Oh
it's all
yeah.
fun. So
Did you ever win Narch or anything?
yeah, I won Narch Pro a couple times. We won. Actually, my team was the first team to ever win the junior division when they or the Division One division when they came out with it in Atlanta. We won. It was the first time they ever had the Division One division, and our team. We had a stacked team. Mike Van Ryn was on that team. I don't know if you remember. He played in the
I remember
NHL
that
forever.
name. He played for the
So
Leafs for a
right,
bit. Yeah.
yeah, Rhino was on that team. We had some pretty good players. We were all like 17, 16, 17 years old. But yeah, that was the first ever Division One. Now it's pretty big Division One. That's a big.
Well, I'm not sure what age group we played, but we were at Western Michigan. We were college athletes with hockey guys, and we brought another 4 or 5 guys from a guy's hometown that were roller guys. And we went to Narch and stayed at the Lani Kai. And then Joe
Yeah.
Dumars was our regional to make it there. And
Yeah.
we went down there, just ran amok. We had the best time ever.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
when we won it,
Yeah.
platinum division, like the highest level, we were the champions of Narch. Man, we partied at the Lani Kai like we won the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah. Why wouldn't you? You
Oh
should.
yeah. Oh,
I mean, it's great.
what
It's
a
great.
time. What a time. What a great place. And I feel bad for everybody in that area because I've been there and man, some of the best memories I got are from
Oh.
that area of the world.
Oh yeah, and it's sad because you look now watching, you can't even get there. It's gone. Like, everything is gone except a frame of the Lani Kai. So it's pretty sad, but
That
I'm
really
sure they'll
is,
rebuild.
man. There's a lot of work to be done then, eh?
Oh yeah, a ton of work. So
Okay. So, but you're you grew up in Warren, Michigan.
Yep, yep. I grew up in
Warren,
Michigan.
where's that? Right by Detroit?
It's right out. It's yeah, outside of Detroit.
Like my wife's from Trenton.
Oh yeah, it's on the other. She's on the other side. So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's outside of Detroit, suburb of Detroit, and I grew up playing for Little Caesars, and
So that's not cheap, eh? For the parents, from what I hear.
no, no. I mean, you grew up to play for Little Caesars, and then the big thing was you wanted to play for the midget team because you played for the midget major team. You played at Joe Louis Arena, and I probably still best memories I had. We would practice after the Red Wings would practice every day, and this was the time when you had
really like that. Like
yeah.
your season was out of Joe Louis.
We had our own locker room at Joe Louis, and we would practice right after the Red Wings. And this is when the Red Wings were in their heyday, when they won the Cup. You had Shanahan, Fedorov, Yzerman. I mean, you can go through the list.
Brad Hall, Chelios, the full deal.
You had Anna Kournikova sitting on the bench watching practice for Sergei Fedorov every day, and you weren't allowed to go out there and she was younger than we were. She's out there sitting watching practice.
And you weren't allowed to go out because she was there?
We weren't allowed to go to the bench because nobody was allowed to talk to her or whatever. So we had to stay. We had to stay in the tunnel because we were all older than her. She's out there watching practice and whatnot. But I still say that I was fortunate enough. You know, they throw the octopus on the ice for the Red Wing games in the playoffs. So during the playoffs, when when the Wings won the Cup, they beat the Flyers. I was at every home game picking up octopus. And there's a goal Steve Yzerman scores. It's like double or triple overtime where he takes a slap shot right inside the blue line and he scores. I think it was John Casey. And I'm standing right there. But before the game, and I tell everybody this is my greatest hockey moment, somebody chucked the octopus dead center ice here and 20,000 people, Joe Louis going off, bombs are going off. I still machine heads playing. Al Sabaka, the Zamboni driver, he says, go get that octopus. So I skate out to center ice. And I'm down on my one knee and I'm picking up this octopus. I don't even like to touch fish or octopus, but if it was a free ticket to the Stanley Cup game, I'm in. So I look up, and when I look up, who's there scraping the ice? You got Wayne Gretzky, Steve Yzerman, Shanahan, Fedorov, and I'm like, this is not going to get any better than this in my hockey life. Like right here, dead center ice, Joe Louis Arena, and still to this day, I tell my kids, I tell them the story, and I tell other people, I'm like, greatest hockey moment ever. It was awesome.
Was going out to pick up the octopus. Wayne Gretzky was out there.
Yeah, Gretzky was playing for the Blues at the time.
Oh, the Blues.
Yeah, he was. It was in the conference final. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, you had the great one on the ice, and I was like, oh my god, this is unbelievable. So it was what a good. It is
interesting when you're younger than guys, like how you can look up to guys like just 2-3 years older than you, right? When you're growing up, and then. Like the guys that are younger than you are always like the young punks, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But so when what I do is when I lock a guy down, I usually Google their name, find a cool picture, and then post it. And I Google your name, and there's a picture of you now with the young fella Matthews. And was that Brian Rafalski then?
Yeah, and that was Rafalski. Yeah. So
what's this? What are you doing with them?
So I used to have a camp down here in the summertime. It was called the Hockey Summit. But Daryl Belfry, who's a skating guru, he does everything. All the NHL guys, right?
Is he skating or skills?
He does skating and he does skating and skills. He does it all. He's really good at what he does. And so what he did is he had all these, he has all these NHL guys out. He runs the camp now down here. And I mean, you got the cream of the crop down here, Patrick Kane, Austin Matthews. So that picture that you saw was the summer of the draft year. So Matthews came down and he would work with Belfry, and Rafalski was out there, and so he needed guys to pass the puck or like rough him up when he was down the corner, just like play defense on him. And he was 17, 18 years old at the time, and we had a 2-week camp, and it was on the ice every day with him playing jokes. He was a kid.
Yeah.
And so that's what that picture was from. But like I text him all the time. He sends like I was I send him a text, or when they come to town I go see him, or he'll wish my kids a birthday and he'll send him stuff to the ice.
That's
super nice guy. So
yeah,
and he's been to the house. We got a mini stick room in here, and he's playing mini sticks with my kids. I don't my kids realize how lucky they are, but
right.
Such a nice guy. And but that's what that picture's from.
Oh, that's cool. So that Belfry was running that right in Estero, like at the Germain Arena, or what's it called now?
Yeah, it's Hertz Arena now. So
Hertz Arena.
yeah, Hertz put their name on the building.
How'd it make it through the storm? Is it
Yeah, it's actually a shelter right now. So not like I've been going over there. It's pretty packed right now with a lot of people that lost their homes, and the rink shut down. Obviously just to take care of everybody here in town, but hopefully we'll get up and running again soon.
No kidding. So here's a question then. So that's the season you're playing midget out of Joe Louis, but there's not many guys I ever see that go straight from AAA to NCAA. You never played USHL, you never played junior, you just went straight from midget to NCAA.
Yeah. I was very fortunate.
I've never seen that. I've gone through a lot of careers in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I was for it. It doesn't happen often, but I was fortunate enough. Our Little Caesars team that year, I think we went 63-2-1 or something like that. But we had Andy Hilbert, Andrew Hutchinson. We had like 3 guys that won Stanley Cups. We had 17 guys got Division I scholarships on that team. We had a really
on one AAA team.
On one AAA team, we had a really, really good hockey team. And I was getting recruited to go to these other schools, and they were like, play a year of junior hockey. Well, they're going to give you a full ride here. And then Miami of Ohio came in, and they saw that I had all these offers and whatnot. And it wasn't till Randy Robitaille, who I'm buddies with now, he signed with the Boston Bruins, and a scholarship became available. And I remember getting the phone call and
they're
saying,
like,
hey,
you want to come now?
Yeah, they want to come now. So I said, yeah, why not? And so that's how I ended up going there.
So and I played against Miami, and that's back in the old barn. So I've never seen the new one, right?
Yeah,
like the old barn, that's my type of barn. It's
small.
Yeah,
it was nice. It was loud. It was nice. Now they got a brand new facility, NHL locker room. It's beautiful now.
Yeah, fancy pants now, eh?
Oh yeah, spoiled. Everybody's spoiled.
One guy that was on that team your freshman year though that ran amok, Dan Boyle, eh?
Yeah, Danny Boyle. He
had a bit of a career.
Yeah, Dan and I actually played this summer in the over 40 tournament up in Tampa, and we roomed together. And it's funny because when Dan retired, like he literally, I meet up with him in Tampa, and he's like, I got my equipment, I pulled the equipment out. I said, when was the last time you skated? He's like, oh, I haven't put my skates on in 3 years. And I'm like, he's like, I don't know how I'll be. I said, I don't know. We literally game 1, we go up for warm-ups, and I play 3-4 times a week. Like I stay in shape and I do it and whatever. And he tells me I ran a few times. He comes out, he was probably the best player on the ice. And you had a lot of like AHL guys. And it's like he didn't miss a beat. I was like, because I told him, like, Dan, just give me the puck. I'll give it back to you. We'll play tic-tac. And I swear to God, he's like, I haven't put my skates on in 3 years. He gets out there and he just lightened it up. It was unbelievable.
Some guys can just do it, eh?
Yeah.
And then there's some guys that have to skate all the time, right?
Yeah. I don't know how he did it, but yeah, he's he's like, can't wait till next year over 40. So he's back.
It's pretty cool though to see the guys you go to university with, right? That end up playing for like Team Canada and win Stanley Cups and all the shit they do.
Oh, it's awesome. It's so cool. And I think it's even cooler too now that we're like older, and I think it's, we went through the whole hockey, but to share it with our kids and to be able to bring our kids and introduce them to the people, or, my kids, they're spoiled rotten. We go to NHL games. I have buddies on all these different teams. So they leave us passes to go down to the locker room all the time. So they're all like,
well, that's living a different life. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, hey, Dad, we're going to the locker room and see the boys. I'm like, yeah, sure, boys. After the game, they just think that that's normal. Like,
right.
Back when we
where you're growing up, I may as well bring it up now while we're on it though, is like your jersey's retired, right?
Yeah. I'm one of
so like your kids are coming to the arena and like old man's jersey's up in the rafters, right?
Oh yeah, they like to tell. My older one, he likes to tell everybody as soon as somebody walks in the rink, they're like, hey, there's my dad's jersey. So, but yeah,
I know that's cool. Awesome. I'm just curious, since we're on the topic now, because that's what I got to go with is how'd they do it? So like you obviously kept coming out of retirement a whole bunch of times to help out, but like I could see where you retired. It was after, what was it, 2000
10, 11, I
10.
retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when do they do the jersey and then what do they do for it? You go to
So
hit the Lani Kai after?
yeah, no, I was actually out on the golf course with Craig Brush, who's still the GM and president, and we go golfing all the time and calls me every day and asks me, so we were out on the golf course and he goes, well, I think it's time. And I said, time for what? He goes, I think it's time we put number 9 up in the rafters. And I was like really, honored and whatnot that he said that, but I was kind of upset because I kept coming out of retirement and it was something I always looked forward to. And so I said, well, when I come out of retirement, can I still wear number 9 when I play? And he's like, no. He's like, do you want to play or am I going to put your jersey in the rafters? And so I was like, okay, put my jersey in the rafters. Well, it was awesome.
Yeah, because that's so what excited. You dream of. Yeah.
So yeah, and so the funny thing was so I got my jersey retired and it was Orlando that was in town. They did this big jersey retirement thing. They had my parents on the ice, my wife, she was pregnant at the time. And then like another year later, or 2 years later, or whatever it was, I was at my office and I got a call from the coach and the GM. They're like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And I said, well, I'm going to be at the game with my kids. And they're like, well, we need you to play tonight. And I said, yeah, sure. They're like, you got your stuff? I said, I won't make pre-meetings at 4:30 or 5 when you get there because I got a client until 4:50. They're like, don't worry about being early. And I said, okay, no problem. They're like, well, you're going to start. I said, all right, sounds good. So I ran home, grabbed my stuff, and so I got my jersey retired against Orlando, and then I come out of retirement, play Orlando, and I scored a nice goal. So it's pretty funny.
And so, like, are you talking about the time you came out just recently? Like,
the recently one. Yeah, I came back out.
When did they retire the jersey? That year, 2008?
No, 2013, 12 or 13.
Right.
It was.
So it had been retired for a long time.
It had been retired for a while. Yeah.
And yeah, so then you come out and score a goal yet too.
I scored. Yeah, I came out a couple times and scored, but it was the last game.
What kind of goal? Are we just mucking it in, or are you sniping?
No, actually, the one of the other times I came back and scored, it was a rebound in front. But the last goal I scored, it was actually on the power play. It was on a fast break, and I was cutting through the neutral zone, and I got a pass in the high slot on my backhand. I flipped it over and took a snapshot and buried it upstairs. And at first I was like, did I just snipe? And it was like it was a legit goal. It was like a nice goal. I'm not just saying it because we're on your podcast.
When it's a nice one, you know.
It was a nice goal. So yeah, I was 40 years old, and then everybody went nuts just because I was 40 years old. So it was. Cool.
No, it's because your jersey's in the rafters and you just scored a sweet goal when you're 40.
Yeah, so it was cool.
That is cool.
and it was the first time my kids got to see me play because they were so young. So they were both at the game and they didn't know I was playing. And I was like, this is the first time my kids are going to see me play, probably one of the last. So
well, what I usually do is jump around, I just follow people's careers. I'm going to jump around tonight because I feel like it is. When I look at what you were doing in hockey, you were doing just fine, and then you just up and retire.
Yeah.
And you're living in Florida. You're not going anywhere. So why did you just stop playing? Because you're still in good enough shape to do it.
I know. It was at the time when I was getting married. I was 30 years old, and it was funny how I got my job. It was after a hockey game. I had a fan and his daughter come up to me, and they were wearing my jersey. And I was walked out of the locker room, and the guy says to me, he says, "Hey, excuse me, Mr. Hartlieb, my daughter's your biggest fan. It's her birthday. Can you sign her jersey?" And I said, "Oh my God, it's your birthday. Hold on a sec." So I went back into the room and I grabbed a stick and I autographed a stick for her. And he's like, "Oh my God, that's the nicest thing ever." Well, the next night we played, he was at the game again, and he was in the bar. And after the game upstairs in the bar, he said, "What do you plan on doing when you get done playing hockey?" And I said, well, I plan on getting in the financial world. I have my one license. I went to school and all this stuff. He says, "Can I take you to lunch next Tuesday?" And this was like right at the beginning of the season. And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll go to lunch." So he takes me to lunch. I show up in a hat, flip-flops, T-shirt. He shows up in a 3-piece suit. Yeah. And he's laughing. He gives me this envelope. He says, "I want to hire you." And I said, "Well, what do you do?" He says, "I work for the bank." I said, "What are you, a branch manager?" He's like, "No, I'm the head of brokerage. I run all the financials." And so he handed me this envelope. He says, "We're going to pay you to study, and you play hockey as long as you want. And when you're ready to retire, you have a job sitting here waiting for you doing this and this." And
that's a pretty good setup.
Yeah. And so when I figured when, I was 30 years old, I was getting married.
And
I
you didn't know
figured,
this guy till you signed his kid's stick.
no, yeah, didn't know him till his daughter and him came
You
down.
had that impression around the arena. I told you, I was like in your boy band in roller hockey. Everybody in that arena was like, "It's Ernie, it's Ernie, it's Ernie." I'm like, "Who the fuck is Ernie?"
Some fucking guy. I know.
But then you
Yeah.
walked around and you were big, and you walked around and they're like, you were the one roller guy that was like making his name in ice hockey. I think the year we won in at the Lani Kai there, you were like in the AHL at that point, if the research
Yeah.
team has it right.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was too, the last one of the, I think it was Narch Pro. I can't remember what year, but we ended up playing in the finals. It was at Germain or Hertz now, and Patty Maroon was on the other team, and he was.
I didn't know he played roller.
Oh, Patty Maroon's a roller daddy. He just sent me a picture yesterday. Him out on the golf. They were out on the golf course yesterday, but Patty was on the other team. He's got some sick mitts on him. And he ended up beating us, and it was because I'd been playing for the Everblades, so the rink was packed with all Everblade fans to come watch me play, and we ended up losing in overtime to Patty Maroon and company, and that was like one of the last Narch Pros I played was at Hertz Arena. But no, it was
the Narch Pro. That was so basically, so people that wouldn't know is you don't get paid, right? There's like a purse of money that like the team that wins it gets like whatever, and it's like not much.
Right. It's the Narch Pro is the top of the tops at Narch.
Yeah.
And so it's like guys that play in the American League, guys that are playing like big time college hockey, and it's
good really, hockey, and
really
they're skilled,
hockey.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good, skilled, fast hockey. It's fun to watch. So
I never did play the pro. I only played whatever we did when we left Western Michigan, but that's when I kind of stopped, and I felt like hockey was getting too serious to play roller. But I guess everybody's got to make those decisions, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, better move on. So there's a bunch of dandies that went to Miami of Ohio that I was going to bring up, but we better keep moving. We had a late start.
Yeah.
Was Ben Roethlisberger at your school when you were there? Because I remember he was at Miami of Ohio, and I would hear about it on the bus trips in. They're like Big Ben went to school here. So that's the same time?
Yeah, he was 2 years behind me. So he was there in the and like at the time, well, Miami hockey, the hockey team was like the big sport because not saying that basketball or football or anything, but Miami was the hockey team was in the CCHA. So it was you were playing Michigan State, Ohio State, the big schools, and like the other programs were in the MAC, and they were playing like,
and that's what Western Michigan football was. Like they're playing Western Michigan.
Right. Yeah. But they had Big Ben. So Big Ben, he was there for 2 years, and it was cool because the football team would always hang out at the hockey house, so they would all be there hanging out. And actually, the bigger star that was at Miami when I was there, I was a freshman. He was a junior or a senior. Was Wally Zerbiak. I don't know if the basketball player. He was a lottery pick for the Minnesota. This guy would walk into a bar, and the place would stop and go wild. I know Big Ben is Big Ben, but Wally Zerbiak was there, man. This guy was.
Do you think that'd be fun though? Like for everybody to know who you are, when like that wouldn't be fun.
No, I mean you're like, I mean it's cool to think about like, oh, you're the man or whatnot, but like your whole life is on. You can't really. You go out to eat or whatnot. Everybody's
looking at you, like
right.
Yeah. It wasn't like that in Western Michigan. If you're that like doing
the old
pretty
Broncos,
good. I don't think so. Yeah. Oh yeah. But that's cool. So we had Greg Jennings, the wide receiver for Green Bay when I was there.
Oh yeah.
And Tony Scheffler, who Jeff, I told him, I'm like, come on. And he writes back to me and he says, I'm only coming on if we play beer darts. Do you know what that is?
No, beer darts.
No. Oh, it's our college game. Came from Minnesota. Guy transferred in and brought it with him. You put beers in front of you sitting on a lawn, and you put your beer in front of you, and wherever the dart pierces the beer, you got to shotgun it to that hole. Once there's 3 holes in it, you got to finish it. But then you just keep tossing darts around, and if you want to stack up more than one in front of you, then people throw more darts at you. Then you get more throws, right?
Oh my god, I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna steal this game from you and use it down here.
Yeah, and then when the cans are empty, you just throw them in the middle, and then you get a big pile of empties in the middle, and you just keep playing.
I might have to steal that game.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's how we know NFL stars.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay. So then you do pretty good in college. I don't know how many Miami of Ohio guys I've had on yet. So
No?
no, I used to hear, this is just a rumor I heard, that there used to be way more girls at that school than
Oh,
boys. Is that
yeah.
true?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, part of my recruiting trip, I remember the last thing I saw at Miami was the hockey rink. So we went uptown. I met the coaching staffs, meet them uptown at night at the bar. Literally, we go into a bar, there's a hockey bar, and the whole hockey, the whole team's in there with the coaches drinking, whatever, whatnot. So you walk out to High Street, if you remember being on
When you're
Miami.
supposed to be 21, right?
Yeah, right, 100%. 20. We were all 21.
Pretty
We go
much.
up to bar and they go, Ern, why do you come to college? I'm like, play hockey. They're like, take a look around. And you just look up and down, and it's 6-to-1 ratio, girls to guys at this school. And it was like,
Why is
it was,
that?
I don't know. And it was crazy. And it was just like, it was one of those schools that you're driving in the middle of nowhere, and then you just all of a sudden you come into Oxford, and it's like the Harvard of Midwest. Everything's pavered stone. It's beautiful building, and it's just tons of girls. And then the hockey team was the sport at the school, so it was like, how could you turn this place down? It was unbelievable.
I understand. They talk about how there's more girls than guys there, but like Western Michigan, I grew up in Elmira, Ontario,
Yeah,
Mennonite community. And
yeah,
then I go to Kalamazoo, Michigan, to Western Michigan, and I
yeah. Oh
see
yeah.
what's going on down there. And I'm like, and you're telling me like the hockey guys, like people like hockey here, the team's a thing. And you're like, really?
Oh yeah. My sister was a Bronco. She went there.
And yeah, she used to be around the roller rinks, didn't she? She would have been
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
She was with me. Yeah, and she went to Western
She went to
Michigan, and
Western, did she?
yeah, yeah. She was at Western. She was 2 years behind me, so she probably was there when you
She's
were there.
probably, yeah, close in age to me then.
Yeah,
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 I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay. What else do I got here? So your last season though, you get 22 points and you're still pretty young then if you went right out of midget. I've never
Yeah,
heard that.
yeah.
So
What?
you get 22 points your senior year. So what are your pro options? You end up with the Daytona Beach Bombers.
Yeah. Well, the thing was my draft year that I went into Miami, that I don't think you know, is the day before, the week after I signed my letter of intent to go to Miami. I went to Fraser Ice Cream to play pickup hockey. I didn't butt my chin strap, and I collided with a guy, knocked my helmet off, and I hit my head, and I fractured my skull. I was in a coma for 12 days and almost died. So my draft year was pretty much a wash, like going
Is
into
that the year you played only 9 games?
yeah, yeah.
You were in a coma?
I was supposed to get I was supposed to redshirt because we had so many guys, but everybody got hurt. So I ended up playing the last whatever 9 games. So I missed out
blew
a
a
whole
year.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the reason why I ended up didn't get I never got
So how
drafted.
does that work though when they come to you and say, "Will you play and now give up your red shirt year?" When you've said this is what we're doing?
I mean, as an 18-year-old kid, and
And why do you go do the red shirt then instead of play junior?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, at the time, because I wasn't cleared to play hockey, so it happened June 24th, 1997, when I fractured my skull, and I didn't get cleared to play hockey until December, and so I wasn't allowed to do it. Like I was allowed to work out or do nothing, and then finally, all of a sudden, it went from me almost dying, never playing hockey again. The next thing I know, I'm in the lineup against Lake Superior State. So it was pretty cool. And my second game I ever played, I scored at Bowling Green from Dan Boyle. It was pretty cool.
Really? Yeah, Bowling Green's a sweet barn too, eh?
Yeah, BGSU. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a nice spot. That would have been right in my wheelhouse too. Nice country area. So then you do well though. Your senior year, you're I guess what, about 21 maybe.
I think I just turned 21. Yeah.
So then what are your pro options? How do you end up in Daytona Beach? But
so I go
but like so with the coma thing, we better talk about that actually.
Yeah.
I'm not skipping over that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
when you're in a coma and you wake up, like
Yeah.
do you realize like what you're like?
No.
So you're just like you woke up and you're like, it's day what?
Yeah, no. Well, what? So I don't remember anything. All I remember is I wake up and I'm laying in this bed and I see like my Little Caesars hockey jersey. I see balloons, and I don't know what's going on because I'm just in this room by myself. And so they have the heart monitors hooked up to you and all this, everything's hooked up to you. Well, I'm kind of like don't know what the hell's going on, so I pull everything out of me, like my IVs, like everything out of me. And I get up to try to walk, but I've been laying in bed for 12 days. I lost the ability to walk. I fall down and laying on the ground. All of a sudden, all these nurses, everybody comes and runs into the room thinking I like flatlined because I pulled everything out of me. And I freaking out because I'm like, what is going on? I couldn't talk because I had a trach in my mouth, or in my throat. And so they're like, relax. And my mom and dad came in and they're like, do you remember what happened? And I'm just shaking my head because I can't talk because I got this trach in my throat. And so they tell me what had happened. And I kind of freaked out. They were like, you've been in a coma for 12 days. You fractured your skull. This is why you can't talk. And this is why you can't walk. And so,
and you're only like 17 at this point.
17, yeah, I was 17, going to be 18. And the reason I had them.
That's got to be hard on the parents.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine it being my mom and my dad. But I had them take a video. My sister took a videotape of me, like the old VHS recorders, the big gold cameras. Because I wrote down, I said, I want you to videotape me because this is going to be the greatest comeback. And so I have the video still, and I show my kids and all the other kids on why you should button your chin strap when you go on the ice to play hockey.
Yes.
Because a little piece of chin strap that I didn't do because I thought I was so cool almost killed me and ended my life. And so and
it's not that hard to do up the chin strap.
No.
And you actually don't look that cool with it hanging down.
Right. Well, I mean, that was the thing. You see all the NHL guys and warm-ups, no buckies, chin straps hanging, and just a little accident could end your life just because you didn't button your chin strap. So
yeah. It's a learning lesson for everybody though, right?
Yeah. Especially try to tell your own kids, button your damn chin strap.
That's right.
So
okay, now I'm ready to move on.
Now you're ready to move on?
Now I think so. Okay.
All right.
So after your senior year, you get 22 points. So you're a forward.
Well, I played half the year forward, half the year D. I played both.
I was gonna say I remembered you playing roller hockey more than ice hockey. I think we just did the Everblades Bombers series in ice hockey really against each other, but I've always pictured you as like a big mobile D man.
Yeah, I played half my career. That series against you, I was a defenseman.
Right.
Mostly, I remember that series because it's actually the game-winning goal was a 2-on-1. Craig Kowalski, who we talked about, who had this thing. I was playing defense. Puck shot, hit Kowalski in the pads, hit me in the ass, and went in the net. That ended up being the game-winning goal for the Bombers to win the series. I still talk about this to the day.
I remember the game that went to like overtime number like 4. We had guys out because they were cramping and couldn't play anymore. And I had never cramped, I don't know.
Yeah, you were in tip top shape.
That's right. So I don't know how I didn't ever cramp.
Was that in Dayton?
No, that was in Florida. It was I don't know what game of the series was. It was somewhat early, but it went to like the 4th overtime, and we scored on a power play right after it, or at the start of a period. It was one of the longer games I've played that I remember.
Yeah, that went 7, didn't it? Did that series go 7?
Yeah,
or go 6? Yeah,
I have a great story from that game 7. We ended up winning it. I don't remember what the score was, but I remember after we all went to some bar down there by the arena.
Yeah.
And then I ended up at the Everblades apartment complex. I was Derek Damon. It was David Bryan. There was a whole, but the refs and linesmen were there with us.
Everybody's there, right?
Everybody's there. So me, Justin Miser, a bunch of Bombers were there. Scott Ford. And we were all there with the Florida guys and the refs and linesmen. And it was like, we've had a great series. That was a great battle. Let's have some fun.
That usually happened when everybody came down the floor. We always hang out, but that's great.
I literally couldn't believe it. I had only been in the East Coast in Dayton, Ohio, because Syracuse sent me there. And then we get to the semifinals, we go to Florida, and I'm like, these people actually live like this in the East Coast. I didn't know. I didn't know that you could live like that in the East Coast.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. That's why I never left after I finally came down here.
I understand.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, quite the spot.
Yeah.
That after game 7 was a great memory.
That's funny.
So anyways, Dayton, Ohio. You only went there after your senior year for 5 regular season games and 3 playoff games. Can you just let me know what you thought of Dayton, Ohio, and why you went there?
Well, I went to Dayton because like every guy that played at Miami that when the season ended, they would go to Dayton to play
Because
just
it's
to get.
not that far and you
It's
get some
not that
pro
far.
games in.
Yeah, it's like 50 minutes, and it was always a thing. It was the end of the
So
season.
that's your Kalamazoo K-Wings for the Western Michigan guys.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it was to go there and experience pro hockey before you went, so you got a little taste of it, and so we always would go do it. So I signed for the last like whatever 5 games, and
But
then
you're living where Miami of Ohio was. What town's that in?
Oxford,
Oxford.
Ohio. So it was only like an hour from Dayton. So we would
Daytona Beach, sorry.
Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you play at the Nutter Center?
Yep, that was the Nutter Center.
Yeah. Nice
Wright
spot.
State played there, right?
Yeah,
Is
the
that correct?
basketball
Wright
team.
State. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a beautiful. It was a big barn.
It was. Yeah, and they actually did good at basketball the year I was there, and it was all exciting for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting when you move around for a bit, like the different teams you can start cheering for.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed I'd cheer for Wright State University in basketball at some point in my life, right?
Yeah.
So then after that year, you decide to go to the Arkansas Riverblades. Why there?
So I had a no trade clause with when I signed. Greg Ireland was the head coach of the Dayton Bombers at the time, and so for some
I know
reason,
that name for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, he coached when I don't know where else he coached, but right before my part of my deal was when I went to Dayton is they were going to release me, and
At the end of the year, so you can go
at the end
wherever
of the
you
year,
want.
so I can go wherever I want. Well, I ended up being that all these teams wanted me, and Arkansas offered, I don't know, whatever they offered for me. So he traded my rights to Arkansas in Little
And
Rock.
then they haven't made the deal that they're going to release you. So then
Right.
you're with
Right.
them.
So I'm an Arkansas Riverblade. So I'm like, I played 5 games or 6, whatever it was. And now my rights are owned by Arkansas. So I can't go anywhere but Arkansas. So I go to Arkansas my first year and I played defense. Like I didn't play forward. I played defense the whole season. And so then the next season, they're like, hey, Chris Hockey was the coach. He's like, hey, come back. He's like, you want to play forward? And I said, yeah, sure. I played forward half my career, half here, half there.
Where in Arkansas are we talking? Isn't that the state?
Little Rock, Arkansas. It was awesome. It was an unbelievable town. It was unreal, to be honest.
Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah, it was amazing. Actually, had a huge barn, great fans, and it was fun. So I came back my second year. He's like, I want you to play forward. So I said, okay, I'll play right wing again. And so I play right wing, and I absolutely lit it up. I had 2 really good line
I saw
mates.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I lit it. I had Jason Birmingham and who the hell was the other centerman? I can't even think of his name, but they were
55
both,
points in 47 games. And I wrote ran amok. And
yeah,
then you got called up to the AHL. So
yeah.
But the year before, you had 34 points as a D man.
Yeah,
You're big. You can skate. You're in
Yeah.
shape. I'm kind of confused about your career because I saw you play roller. You had skill. Like, I don't know why I guess that lockout really jammed you up, but like, I'm surprised you weren't a bigger prospect, but I guess it's that gosh darn coma.
Yeah, that had an effect. That did have the effect that everybody was
When
like,
did
well,
you feel like you were back to normal for real? Like, what was the recovery like for that then?
like I literally, when I came out of I had to learn how to walk. I had to trach. I had to learn how to talk again. And like for the first 3 months, I was like hunched over. It was like when you have a head trauma like that, your posture's bad. And it wasn't until Christmas time that I started feeling better. I was getting vaccinated. And then probably in, February the following year, I was like, okay, I'm back. It was more like a confidence kind of thing where.
And that's when you want to play some games just so you can prove to yourself
Yes.
you can do it.
Right. It was like a mental thing to say,
you got to get back on the horse, right?
Right. Yeah. You fall off, get right back on. So that was kind of the reason why I went to, I was like, you know what? I'm an 18-year-old. I fractured my skull. And that was part of the reason I won the Terry Flanagan Award in the CCHA was the comeback player of the year.
Is that what that award is?
Yeah, that was the CCHA comeback player of the year, whatever. I got from coming back from being basically dead to playing college hockey. So it was,
well, that's pretty good job. And
Yeah.
then you got your jersey retired too.
Yeah. So I'll take it. I'll
Yeah.
take it.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. um, Arkansas Riverblades. Do you remember a player named Dan Hallman?
Oh yes, I remember Dan. Of course I remember.
I played with him with the Beatingheim Steelers. We won a championship together.
Did you really?
Mhm.
I think he wore number 12, if I remember his number correctly. I don't remember, but I remember Dan. He was tall, skinny kid, right? Tall, skinny.
Well, he wasn't a kid when I played with him. He was older
Wow.
than me, right? But yeah, he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
bald with
Yeah.
children.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was younger when I was with him. But
Right.
yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious, but no, he had a couple sleepovers or he had a sleepover that came up in the shed about Anywho, move on. So when you're running amok that second year of the coast, you
Yeah.
get called up to Worcester. So what's your contract? Are you just East Coast?
So yeah. So I signed a 25 game PTO with Worcester, and it's St. Louis's AHL team. And so I go up there and
you got 15 points in 24
Yeah.
games played, man. That's
yeah. So I did pretty good. And
how tall are you? 6'3"?
6'2", 6'2.5". So a big right winger.
And you're
so
putting up 15 points in 24 games.
Yeah. Yeah. And so at the end of the season, we have it's funny because the GM's there and they're having the end of the exit meetings. And
how'd you get ice time on a PTO? Like you get called up from the coast. Usually those guys, they're just on the fourth line. You got 15 points.
Yeah, they put me on the top line when I got there. So I was playing with some good players. And I mean, the first game I played, I think it was on the third line or whatever. And I scored my first 3 games and in the American League. And next thing I know, I was playing on the top line in the American League. I went from
it can happen fast, eh?
It goes, yeah. I mean, luck and everything kind of came together, and it just worked out. But in the end of the year, so the end of the year comes, I didn't have a contract, and then I go into my exit meeting, and Larry Plow, who's the GM of the Blues, is in there, and John Ferguson Jr. is in there. I walk in, I sit down, and they're like, "Ern, you did a great job. We're going to offer you a 2A NHL contract." And like you're sitting there, you go from a kid that didn't have a contract. You're playing in Dayton, you're playing in Arkansas, and now you're sitting across the table from the general manager of the St. Louis Blues and the assistant GM, and you're getting offered an NHL contract, an AHL contract. And I was just like flabbergasted. I was just like, oh my God, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. There's the guys that got it when they were 18 and they were young punks and they bought their fancy cars and whatever. And then there's the guys that grinded it out. And then there's the guys that end up getting that deal later on. And it must mean a little bit more.
Oh yeah, it was satisfying because it wasn't till the next year when I went to training camp with St. Louis Blues, when I'm sitting in the locker room and Chris Pronger's on my left, Keith Kachuk's on my right, and Jamal Mayers is next to him. And it was like one of those, what?
Jamal Mayers is a Bronco, but just
he's a Bronco. Yeah, Jammer, he's a beauty. I still talk to him, but it was one of those. That's when you knew it was like they said it, but then you go to training camp and you're in the locker room and you're sitting next to these guys, and I mean I was 22, 23 or whatever how old I was, and it was just it was awesome. It was like you got your dad comes to training camp and he's coming to the exhibition games. He's sitting in the stands wide, and still to this day, my kids are looking at mom or me in the stands or me coach behind the bench. It was like that when I was up in St. Louis and the training camp or doing the exhibition. I was up in the stands.
You still look to see it for mom and dad, right?
Oh yeah, you're still looking. Dad's giving you one of these to pick it up a little bit, and but it was that's when it was.
It is interesting, right? Like mom and dad stopped coming to games. Like they came to almost every game through college, really, unless you're playing in Alaska against Fairbanks, right? But they're pretty much at every game, and so were quite a few parents on our team. And then you get to Daytona Beach, Ohio, and you're playing 72 games, and you're playing all over the place Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's not very good for the parents, so they stopped coming to the games, and it is different when you start playing hockey and your parents aren't in the crowd watching, right? Because you kind of you're playing and you're like, hey, watch what I could do, right?
Right. Hey, it doesn't matter how old you are. You're always looking for your parents' approval, right? They're
Right.
like, it gives you that, a teammate can tap you in the butt, coach can say good job, but unless you look up in the stands and you see dad or your mom and they're giving you one of these, then you're like that feeling, okay, I'm doing good. Mom and dad, no matter from 30 or whatever. It was always cool to see that. So
See, I know I'm not doing that yet as a dad. I was as a coach. Now when I'm just watching the son, I'm like just kind of watching. I'm like, I'll give him a nod if he looks at me and like, yeah, you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not giving mine the fist pumps either, but
No, you can't give him the fist pumps. So
no.
that it might get can't do that.
No.
Okay. So I find it interesting when I haven't looked at an AHL roster in a while, the research team that year for Worcester, when you are on an NHL deal, 35 points in 64 games is a big right shot. Right shot.
Yeah.
See, I remember.
Yeah.
See, I remember that roster had 42 players, skaters, and 8 goalies.
I know. It was a whirlwind.
The AHL is a mess, eh?
Oh yeah, it was a free. Well, and then the guys from the AHL, even if you're on a first line or second line, you got one of those guys coming down for conditioning, you're getting bumped, they're going right in there. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, right? You're right. Guys come down from the NHL and they're like, you are the first line right winger. Doesn't matter who played well last night. That's what's happening.
And I remember because Donnie Granato was the coach of that team. He's coaching the Buffalo Sabres now. And I remember guys were getting sent down, and I was one of the guys playing a lot. And then I'm not playing at all hardly. I'm sitting, and so I walk. He's like, "Ern, it's not under my control. It's the GM.
It's not about how you're playing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, and that's what a lot of guys they don't realize. There's things you can control and there's things you can't control.
Well, that's the thing with the mental side of the game, right? If you can, there's so many guys that can get in their own kitchen, and it's like,
oh yeah, they're done.
And it's like you can't. It doesn't even matter if you go out and score every shift. Like it actually doesn't matter.
No, it's strange, isn't it?
It's interesting, especially when you talk to goalies, because they're the ones that you get called up and you get a shutout and you're like, okay, go back down. So what was I supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so what'd you sign then with St. Louis and Worcester? A 2-way for 2 years?
Two. Yeah, it was
2 years, and the lockout jams you up for the second one.
Yeah, it was an option for that's how I ended up going to the DEL in Germany. So I had 1 year with an option, and then the lockout happened that after my first year, and they brought in all their because none of the guys were going to play in the NHL. They brought in all the the young bucks that just had got done playing Canadian OHL or whatnot, and they were all going to play them. So I never got my option exercised by St. Louis that second year. And so I got a phone call to go over to play in Germany in Augsburg. And so I jumped on a flight, flew over to Germany. And like I said, I went to training camp, all this running and bullshit. And then first shift, break my hand and my thumb. And you hear the stories all the time about them. Like, here's money. Here's a brown paper bag. Thank you very much. See you later. And that literally was the case in my situation.
See, and it's interesting because for me, that didn't happen. I went to a team that it was all tracked and it was all legit. And there were teams I knew that were not legit at that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was one of those. Well, I thought it was because the DEL was the top league in Germany, and so it is what it is. But it's funny. I always look back. And I always say, if I never got slashed and I never broke my thumb, I would have not have my wife. I would not have my kids because I would have never ended up here in Florida.
And this wouldn't have been in your home. And it's weird how it all works out for a reason, right?
100%. Yeah.
You could have gone there and done well in that preseason. The next thing you know, you're playing in the DEL. And then you meet a German, your kids are eating pretzels and
Right. It's funny. All from a slash. My life has changed everything. So it works out for the best, I would say.
Well, and I mean, it does, right? It all works out the way it's supposed to. So
right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then that year you play for Grand Rapids, 44 games.
Yeah, that was it. would play defense. That roster or this team is talked about on Spit and Chicklets 24/7 on this Grand Rapids team.
So just so you know, that's the year I'm at Western Michigan and I'm doing pretty good. You could say running amok. I came to watch a game with Pat Dwyer and Bellissimo or someone.
Yeah,
they wanted to watch the HL to see what it was like before they got to pro or whatever. And Paul Ballantyne was on your team.
Yeah.
Do you know Bally?
Yeah. Well, that's a long time ago. Yeah, but
he was just like he played for a little bit, but I came to watch you guys play, and I remember him being on the team and being a health bomb and coming up to chat with us. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you look at that roster. Nicholas Cronwell's on the team. Yuri Hoodler was on that team. Pistol Pete Vandermeer. Like that team was. It was a bunch of like really, really good hockey players, but it was pretty much a shit show because they were all under NHL contracts. They were like, oh, we're there. Kip Miller was there. Kip Miller was my roommate on the road. We would go out on the road and have a couple of cocktails, and he'd come back and tell me stories about him and Jaromir Jagr. I mean, it was one of those years that was just wild and crazy, and because it was the lockout that year.
Lockout would have got a lot of guys down to the HL that are usually doing something different that would have had a lot of different stories, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guess what? I got a shed that I have a podcast about the other stories from the lower leagues.
I got a good one for you from a Florida Everblade story. I don't think anybody, but I'll let you keep going. I don't think anybody else.
Go with it right now.
I don't think anybody in pro hockey's done this, but I'm gonna share it with you on your podcast. So my I don't know what year it was, 06, 07. I just met my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, and we had a Christmas break. So my girlfriend at the time, and I, who's now my wife, we fly out to Las Vegas, and I tell the team I'm gonna meet them in Mississippi because we're playing the Seawolves, we're playing Pensacola. So it went Mississippi, Pensacola, Mississippi, back to Florida on the bus. And I told the team
tough.
So I told the team
I was in Daytona Beach. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I told the team that I'm going to fly back from Vegas, and I always had my own room on the road. I was the captain of the hockey team, so they always gave me my own room. I said I'm going to fly back from Vegas with my new girlfriend, and her friends are going to come and meet her and go on the road trip. They're going to pick her up and whatnot. So we fly into Mississippi. And we get there, and her girlfriends call, and they say, we're not coming. And she's like, what am I supposed to do? She starts freaking out. I said, don't worry about it. I got you. She's like, what do you mean? So me and the bus driver were really good buddies. I used to sit up with him on the bus late at night when he was driving. Everybody's sleeping. And so I said, hey, I need a favor. I said, my new girlfriend's here. She doesn't have a ride anywhere. Do you mind if she sneaks on the bus and stays on my bunk and goes on this road trip with us? He's like, yeah, sure thing. No problem. I won't let anybody know. He's like, just tell her to come in the bus like 10 minutes before the game ends, and she get in your bunk and hide in your bunk.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, no problem. So the whole road trip, she went on the road trip with us on the bus, like listening to these guys fart, tell these nasty ass stories.
She would have heard everything.
She heard everything. She took a whole road trip with us on the bus in my bunk. From
so she would have.
She was in the bus, and so I'm usually the guy in the back of the bus that's playing cards the whole time, and I'm like hanging out with her in the bunk, making sure that nobody can see her or whatnot.
And everybody's probably wondering why you're not playing cards.
So everybody's like, why the fuck aren't you playing cards? And so by day 2, I grabbed a bunch of waters and some muffins from the Booster Club, and I stuffed them in the thing, and I said, hey, leave my stuff. Nobody go into my bunk. Here, watch a movie. So I got out of my bunk, and I was in the back playing cards while my wife, who now is my wife, is in my bunk the whole road trip. And she went on the whole road trip, and nobody knew she was on the bus the whole time. So I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but
I've never heard of that. No,
yeah.
I think she probably when there's 20 fellas on a bus, some of the shit you could hear, right?
Oh yeah, she was hearing. I mean,
she must have thought, what type of people are these?
Oh yeah, they're talking about everything you can think of. Farting, drinking beers. I mean, yeah. And so nobody knew she was on the bus, but
jeepers.
And she still married me.
When did the Everblades start? When does that all get built and start happening?
1998 is when the original when they built the arena.
Okay, so it's already been around for a while then.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after that season where you bounce around a bit, you got the Grand Rapids, you got the Everblades, and that's the season where the guy gives you the contract where you could get called up, right?
Yeah, well, it was the year of when I went to Grand Rapids. It was that year, so I played like I think 12 games for the Everblades, and I played 2 games, and I get called up to Lowell. After the first weekend I was there, and I went up to Lowell, and it was funny because this, you're a hockey guy, so I go in and I fly into Providence, and I'm playing on Lowell, and on this team, Mike Commodore, he's in the locker room, he's sitting next to me, so they're like, Ern, what do you got? Money on the board, money on the board. And so I'm like, yeah, put me up for 50 for the G dub or whatever. And so the boys, hey, snapping their fingers.
Yeah.
Well, there was this young kid sitting in the middle of the room. He's stretching. He's got like 10 synergy bombs, taping them up. And he's like, hey, Commie, put me up for 1,500. I'm like, fuck, are you kidding me? I just put up $50. And this little kid puts up 1,500. 50 puts 1,500 bucks, right?
Making you look bad.
Oh yeah. So and I've already been in the American League a couple of years, and so I was like, oh fuck, who's this kid? Well, the coach walks in, he's writing the lineup on the board, and I ended up playing right the line. It was Chuck Kobasu, Eric Stahl, Ernie Hartlieb. It was Eric Stahl. He was a rookie, he just had signed his contract, and he was Eric Stahl stretched in the middle of the room. They throw me up for 1,500. So I was there for like 2 games in Lowell because Chad LaRose had broken his nose. And then I get back to Florida. I play 5 games, and next thing you know, the GM calls me in his office and he says, "Hey, Aaron, I don't know if you want to go, but Grand Rapids, Detroit wants to buy your contract for $1. What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, it was great being here in Florida. I'll see you later."
Yeah.
And so then I went back up. That's how I ended up playing Grand Rapids.
Well, from all the guys that played with Eric Stahl, tell me he's a dandy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a beauty.
Yeah. So then after that, so that's okay. I got her all down. So then after that season though, you ended with Grand Rapids?
Yeah, I ended with Grand Rapids, but because I played 6 games with the Everblades,
you can go back for playoffs.
I was allowed to be on the playoff roster. And so we didn't make the playoffs in Grand Rapids. So they were calling me like 2 weeks before the season. Hey, can you come back? Can you come? And I said, yeah, you know what? Because that year in Grand Rapids, I broke my ankle. I broke my finger. I was out a lot. So I didn't play a lot of games because I was injured. And so I just got healthy. And so I said, yeah, I'll come back and play. So then I came back, we made a playoff run, and we ended up losing in the finals to Trenton in the Kelly Cup final that year. But I just had, I was at a point when I was 26, 20, whatever. They gave me the same contract, the 2-way contract to go play up. And I said I was sick of, I've been to Worcester, Germany, Grand Rapids, Lowell, Florida. Yeah. I was all over the place. I needed a time.
You get sick of it, and you're like, I want to be somewhere.
Yeah, I wanted to set up some roots, and so that's why I ended up just staying in Florida, and I'm back in the 2009, 2010.
But the thing is that Florida wants you for that long. Like, people may not get this, is that it's a double affiliation East Coast team, so they're basically given their roster every year. And like for a guy to not be with either of those teams, they might gotta really want you, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it was good. They treated me, they treated me great, and I just did my thing down here, and I got in tight with the community, did a lot of charity stuff, and it felt good. So that's why I ended up staying.
Feels like home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I got a couple other guys. Did you ever play with Bobby Raymond?
God. So Bobby Raymond called me this summer. He's playing in Germany. He calls me out of the blue. I'm in my office in a suit. He says, Ern, can you do me a favor? I said, what's up, Bobby? He's like, can you go to my house? I'm renting my house. And the lady says there's a dead squirrel in my pool. Can you go over there and fish it out with a net? And I said, a dead squirrel? I said, yeah. So I leave my office, and in my suit, I walk over to his rental house, this old lady. I look in the pool. It's not a squirrel, it's a rat. So I fish this rat out of his pool and chuck it. And I take a picture to him, send it to him. And Bobby Raymond sent me a box of Miami of Ohio golf balls as a favor, as a payback for doing his getting a rat out of his pool.
Oh, yeah, so good for him. He's from right around the corner here. Seriously.
Is he really?
Lucknow, Ontario is right around the corner from. Yeah, he's been in the shed too.
Yeah, he's a beauty. Is he back in Germany?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I got a lot going on, but I think he played last year in the second league in Germany, and I think they did really good.
Yeah,
but I don't know. No. Matthew Waugh,
Wazzy's my great buddy. I
And he
just talked
lives
to him.
still around there, right?
Yeah, he did. He got married. He plays on my men's league team in the summertime.
You
And
guys must have a terrible time living around there. Well, right now sucks, but
yeah,
like you guys have been running amok down there for
yeah,
years
oh
with all
yeah,
these hockey guys. You're getting married to gals down there. You're having kids, and you're just living.
yeah.
Hey,
It's like a big fraternity, and like all the guys that you're talking, they all come back here in the summertime. They're all here, and they come back and end up living when they're done playing hockey. So it's like we have a big fraternity down here. It's like being with your buddies all the time, still, even though you're not playing hockey.
yeah, well, yeah, it makes sense. Vince
Yeah,
Bellissimo, when we played against you guys in that semifinal and it went
yeah.
to game 7, when he got the puck, the fans would get really excited.
Oh yeah, he was shifty.
He was a
Vinny,
Western Michigan Bronco.
yeah, he was a
with me,
Bronco.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pure Italiano.
Oh
The way
yeah. Yeah.
the way he talked, the way he went and played poker at his underground poker games, the way everything. Hey, Aaron, he was Vinny. He was a beaut.
Oh, he is. So what all coaches did you have then while you're there? Because like you obviously in 5-6 years in the coast are gonna go through some coaches, no?
Yeah, well, Jerry Fleming was my coach for the Everblades for the first 4 seasons or whatever. And then Malcolm Cameron came in the last 2 that I played for the Everblades and was there. And so I only had 2 coaches when I was with the Blades. It was Jerry Fleming and then Malcolm Cameron.
Okay, that guy's in
So
the UK now.
yeah, yeah.
So then I want to hear some stories about all these coming out of retirement. Like you're playing 9 to 3 games a year for like 5 years. So they just don't have enough guys and you're just
Yeah,
you're there and you're healthy and you're fit and you're like, well, if you need a guy, what?
yeah.
And you just don't have the time with kids and a real job.
No, yeah, it was I was like the e-bug, the emergency backup goalie, but like so guys would get called up or they would get suspended or the lineup be depleted and I would get a phone call and say, "Hey, Ernie, you play D tonight? Sure, you play center, sure, you play whatever." And so I was always looking forward to every year. It was kind of my motivation to stay in shape in the summertime because if I got the call, I was like, absolutely, I'm playing and I didn't want to look like an ass. So I'd
You
always
never want to look like an
no,
ass.
who wants to look like an ass, especially somewhere where you have your jersey retired? So
Right.
people come to the games, and that was
Even
like my
at
motivation.
40, you got to be out there
Yeah,
bucking it up. And you scored your last game.
yeah, yeah. So it was
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So it was just cool. It's like I said, it's my motivation to stay in shape because you never know when you're getting a call.
That's right. You're always ready. Eh?
Yeah, always ready.
Who's Reggie Berg? Well, the research team was getting hot, and it looks like his jersey's retired too.
Yeah.
And that season that we did win game 7 against you guys in the semis, he ran amok and then only played 2 playoff games. Did he get a career-ending injury?
Yeah, he had a hip injury. Reggie's a good friend of mine too. He's up in Minnesota now. He one of the greatest players that came down here as well, and he was just running wild. And then he got hurt. He was one of those guys at the end of his career where he messed up his hip, and he would never practice. And whenever they get a chance to get him in, they'd play him, but he just never played because he was hurt.
Right, because if he was healthy, he could just dominate, but he just wasn't healthy.
Yeah, he just was. He was a Mr. Minnesota. He won that award. He's a Minnesota hockey player. So he was a hell of a player, hell of a guy.
I was curious. I just saw that name popping up, and I know you know everything about like around there, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're the mayor of the town. You were back in 2005 when I went to Narch.
yeah, yeah,
But seriously, you've been there since, and like you make a home somewhere, right? Like,
yeah.
so I stopped, and now I've been done for 6 years, and like where I am now feels like home now, right? Like,
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just when it feels right, it feels right, and you're enjoying yourself, and you make some roots, and the rest is history. So
Yeah, and you guys got, I guess, the whole community, the whole area. It's got a lot of shit on the go right now, right?
yeah, yeah. It's you mean with the hurricane you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty bad, and everybody's just trying to help out whatever they can, donating time, whether it's buying generators, but it's going to get back. But it's just real disheartening right now seeing a lot of these people without any homes, especially your buddies that lost everything, to help them start over again. So it's one of those moments in time you don't want it to happen, but it does.
Well, and it does, but like for me, like to think of like how hard we grind her out, right? The guys that don't make it, that don't make millions, that we
Yeah.
grind her out like we do. And then you get set up, you got a wife, you got kids like K Wall has, I believe. And
Yeah.
and then that gets taken from you in a storm. And it's like you worked this hard to get all this. It's like, man,
Right.
and that's why you need a hockey community. You need the Florida
Right.
community. You need the firefighters. You need the Shed family. So
Yeah.
please check out the GoFundMe page and let's get them some help because I mean, this could have happened to any of us. And like to
Right.
think, it makes me sick to my stomach to think of a guy, how hard you work and what you do and what you've gone through to get to where you're at. And then it can be taken like that, right?
Yeah. It's tough, but that's why we're hockey players and we have a great bond. No matter if you played on the same team or you played on different teams, we're all a family and we always come together for each other. And that's why I love being a hockey player the most.
And that is, man, and that's like why I call them shed guys, but they're like the people that like help each other and will do anything and they're part of that community, right? And there's
Yeah.
some guys that showed up and played the games and then they left.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Right.
uh, but no, like I from setting this up with you, I know how busy you guys are down there. Thank you for making the time for me. Thank you for everything
Yeah.
you're doing down there for everybody. And I mean, yeah, it's the hockey world, right? Like it's not that big. And like you probably didn't even know who I was, but I was like, I remember you from being younger than you and then all that and playing against you a bit in the coast, but like I don't know. I hope you guys can get everything back up and going down there because it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I love that place, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on and doing this, especially for K-Wall. And like I said, I love coming on podcasts and reminiscing and telling funny stories. And so I appreciate you having me on and enjoyed every minute of this.
Well, let K-Wall know that once he gets his ducks in a row and things are looking better, I'd love to have him on and have a chat and get it out there some more and maybe help out a bit more.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it. I'll let him know. And thank you so much for this. It was awesome, man.
Ah, man, I love this shit. And this has been another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Bigger than Wally.